Welcome to Bus Vibes. Well, hello, YouTube land. Today we're going to be talking, well, let me first tell you. Today is September 11th, 2025. It has been 24 years since the attack on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. And I wasn't videoing last year, so I didn't get a chance to share it. I'm going to share my experience with you in a little bit. But first, we lost a true American patriot yesterday. Charlie Kirk. No matter what you believe or thought of his political side, people do not deserve to be murdered due to whatever their political affiliation are or their religious affiliation. Case in point, I am very much similar to Charlie Kirk. I am a conservative and I'm a Christian, and it doesn't matter whether you're left wing, right wing, conservative, moderate, whatever, that you're killed for that. It doesn't matter if you are Christian, Catholic, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, agnostic, atheist, that you're murdered for that also. I'm sorry, you know, I think back to what has become of our country. You know, Charlie Kirk loved America. Yes, he was conservative. Yes, he ruffled feathers every time he went onto a school campus. However, he wanted the best for our country. And I don't understand why people can be like they are and killing someone just because of that. I mean, I don't get it. Today may be a heavier episode, as after I do my first run, I'll probably talk a lot about 9/11. But my heart is just weighing heavy today. Not only for 9/11, but also for what happened to Charlie. I just think back to I just think of his kids. He has two kids. He has a wife, and you know, what's going to happen to them now? You know, I don't know. It's just very sad. I'll try not to make this too heavy. Last night I got a call from my son. I think his clutch broke on his car because he pulled into a Publix parking lot, and he's like, I can't turn it on, I can't push the clutch in, I heard a pop, and I'm like, ooh, that don't sound good. So he's getting it towed today to get it all looked at. Never a good sign when you hear a pop. I mean, I went over there and it was making a little bit of like hissing noise, I don't know, the other day, but I was like, okay, well, it's just making hissing. He already had an appointment scheduled for Monday to have it looked at. Ever since COVID, you cannot get anything done the same day anymore. Everything is like a week out, it seems like, or longer. So yeah, so he's getting it towed today to get it looked at. Hopefully it's not super expensive. Probably. I told him what I thought the price would be, and he was like, ah. But it is what it is, you know. That's part of life. You know, you have to save up for those things. You need to keep emergency funds for that. Oh, we're coming up on my buddy. He's in 213. It's the bus right ahead of me. It's a 2025, and he brought it into the shop last week because it wouldn't start several times. Just click, do the key handle, nothing, and then it would just all of a sudden start. So I think they replaced the computer brain in it, but then at the same time his air conditioning went out. I don't know if you can see, all of his windows are open. So the warranty guys are not gonna be back until, hold on, I've gotta do a little, make sure I don't whip the tail of my bus into his while I'm doing this. So it's kind of, man, I can't see very well. Alright, when I see my camera, once I'm past it, I can swing over. Oh man, that just looks like I'm close to him. Alright, I'm clear. Now, I don't know if I can get out of here today. I may have to back up. I'm gonna have to back up because I'm not gonna be able to make this turn. And that's good enough. Try to get out of here, hopefully this way. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, that's just 213. It's a 2025, and his air conditioning doesn't work. He thinks it's somewhere in here because now when he does his fan, this fan, it doesn't come on. And he says sometimes it'll work when it goes over a bump. It's like something is loose inside of here. So I don't know. I'm glad 201 doesn't give me those headaches. Surprisingly not, considering this was kind of a, hey, here you go, we'll just grab this and give it to you. Well, the kids will be out here in a minute. I'll come back in a bit. Alright, so turn the radio down a little bit because I don't have any kids on the bus, so nobody should be calling me. Well, there was something that just happened, and I was gonna mention. Oh yeah, I got a little bucket over there. I don't know if you can see it or not. I'm trying something new with my elementary kids. Is they're allowed to grab something out of the Fidget bucket. They're like little fidget spinners and the little poppy things, and then you know, I took anything that was like a projectile away. Just to give them something to play with while we're driving, so they're not constantly touching each other or bothering each other or whatever. So anyway, the verdict is still out on it, whether it works or not. Seems like it, although I'm seeing the bucket get a lot smaller, so I'm sure some of these are disappearing and going home with the kids. And I mean, it wasn't expensive. It was like $10 for the whole bucket full, and I kept some of the ones at home for my grandson, for the ones that like it had like a hand with a long sticky thing that you kind of throw and it sticks on something. I wasn't about to let them have that on the bus. I'm like, that's just asking for trouble. So yeah. All right, well, today is 9/11. Let me recap and tell you what happened to me on the event of September 11th, 2001. I actually was stationed in Japan at the time, I was scheduled to be moving back in October, the very beginning of October, end of September, beginning of October, and all of our household equipment, everything that we own, pretty much was already packed up and on a boat on the way back to the United States. We had a few things. Most of them, you know, they had stuff there that we, you know, like they had the beds were already, we didn't bring our own beds. You know, they provided those. They provided the couches. You know, we had a thing called the Airman's Attic, which when people leave places, they just donate stuff to, so that the next people can use them. So like, we had pots and pans and stuff like that. I mean, the only things that we owned that they were going to come and get, they come and get a small portion. Like, we kept our TV and a lot of our clothes and a lot of other stuff that we could pack up, and then they would ship those by air rather than by the boat. So that's, you know, they hadn't done that yet. And I remember I was watching the first X-Men movie on the TV. I don't remember what channel it was on, whether it was on AFN or Air Force Radio, or not Air Force Radio. We always called it Air Force something network. I don't remember. Anyway, so I was watching that, and it just finished, and then so I'm flipping through channels, and I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. There's an airplane crashing into a building, and then my mouth dropped when I kind of looked in the corner and I saw that it was Fox News, and I was like, what? And then flipped over to CNN, then over to, I mean, that was it. I mean, we had a few channels, and then within minutes, our base was on lockdown. Got a call, stay in your quarters, don't do anywhere, do not go outside, do not do anything, stay inside. We don't know what's going on. They didn't say the words, we don't know what's going on. They just said, we're taking protective measures. They were taking protective measures to ensure our safety. That's all they said over the phones and over the loudspeakers and all that other stuff. Well, we were 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks out. It's when it happened. I take it back. I think I said earlier we were leaving in October. I think we were scheduled to leave at the end of September. So, but I think we were 2 weeks out from leaving. And again, we didn't know what was going on. I got called into work a couple times, which at this point I was already out processed. I was just waiting for my flight to fly back to the United States. I had some friends who were in the air coming from Japan, going to, they were supposed to land in LAX, Los Angeles. And so like we were wondering, okay, what's gonna happen to them? What's gonna happen to all the other stuff? And yeah, they locked us down. It was wild. I mean, we weren't in America, but it was still, we were on a military installation, so it was definitely eye-opening when those attacks happened. One of the things that we were pretty upset about, besides the attacks themselves, where we were locked down, our church was off base, so we weren't going to be able to get to say goodbye to a lot of our friends. Well, you got to remember, I was on an Air Force base where we were stationed at. There's a whole lot of other branches there, and so we weren't going to be able to see a lot of our other friends that were on other bases, because not everyone lived on the same base. The housing they couldn't do that. So it was supposed to be you lived where you worked at. So if you worked on the Marine base, even if you were Air Force, you lived on the Marine base. Not everybody did. Some people actually lived on the Marine base when they worked on the Air Force base, just because they wanted to get out of the local community. Now you got to remember, this is the infancy of cell phone technology. The internet, our internet was dial-up. You young guys and girls don't even know what the heck that is. Basically, you take a phone line and then you had to call a number to get on the internet, and it was slow. So a lot of all that, dealing with all that, not being able to see our friends, going into work even after I've out processed, you know, security was super tight everywhere. You know, it got to the point where we were allowed to traverse on the base itself. Like, we could go to the commissary or to the PX, you know, and get food and clothing or whatever, and but we weren't allowed to go off base, you know, because they had it pretty secure. Now this is remind you, this actually is all about a week has passed now, so things have slowed down, things have calmed down a little bit, and so we were able to traverse around or what have you. But still, I just remember, I mean, I saw it on TV, and then I saw the effects on the installation, and I really thought it was like, I thought it was just a movie. I really did, when I was flipping channels, and I was shocked, utterly shocked. And how America came together after the attacks was phenomenal. It really was. I mean, everybody looked out for each other. It didn't matter what religion, what politics you were under. Everybody took care of each other. And I don't know, we've come so far since then. And it just makes me, I don't know, it makes me sad that America does not, this is not the same America that we had right after that brutal attack. We can always hope and pray that things will get better, which I hope it does. Sorry, I had to go away for a second. There was some kids walking up and I didn't want to get them on camera. Yeah, our country needs to take a good hard look at ourselves, especially for, I mean, it's only been 24 years. Granted, 24 years is a long time, but we don't need to forget what happened. You know, this is probably gonna be a short video. Just wanted to kind of talk a little bit and share my thoughts on what happened there. I remember I was devastated for a while, and everyone in America was, one, they band together, but everyone was fearful of everything. You know, security got so tight anywhere you went, and it was quite scary. It really was, because we didn't know what was happening. You know, you heard a car backfire, and immediately people thought something was firing, weapons were firing or something. You know, everyone was scared to death. I'm glad we've gotten past that point, but I still miss the days when, you know, you looked out for your brother, you looked out for your sister, you saw your friends and family. You know, if they needed something, you were there in a heartbeat. And I think we've kind of gotten away from that. So I'll get off my soapbox now. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Appreciate everyone for watching, subscribing, and all that good stuff. And until next time, thanks for watching.